And so after your experience there and discovering that you wanted to become a broadcaster, how did you first get involved?
All right, so in 2006, January of 2006, I had a little bit of a, I guess, quarter-life crisis is what they call it these days, right? So I moved down to Florida, and I moved down there with a girlfriend at the time. Never do that. 3 months after we got down there, she found the man of her dreams and was gone. So what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I moved back in with Mom. That's what I did. Who lived in Tampa, Florida, and I said, Mom, I got nowhere to go. I was living in Pennsylvania. We moved to Florida. And I'm sitting down there in Florida, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to sit around here and mope. I've got to figure something out. I got to do something, right? So in April of 2006, I began to email all of the anchors and reporters in the Tampa Bay area, figuring if someone knows how to get into television, it's these people because they're in it. They're doing it. They're doing what I want to do. And I emailed everybody. And I bet everybody, if not everybody, most people got back to me. And every single person except for one said, you got to go back to school. You got to get a degree. You got to get an internship. You got to do what we did. And I already had a degree. I had a degree in political science. You know, I went through all that already. It's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go back and have to do all that again. Well, the one person that didn't say that, his name is Bob Hite. He was the main anchor at the NBC station in Tampa at the time. He has since retired. WFLA are the letters of the station. And Bob's email back to me, and I still have the email, said, Justin, call me, with a phone number, and Bob, and that was it.
Wow.
So I called Bob back that very moment that I got this email. And with Bob and I had a brief conversation on the phone, nothing too detailed. But he said, you know, we can't do too much over the phone. Why don't you just come to the station in 2 days? We'll meet, and, you know, we'll see what happens. So I went to the station in 2 days, and, you know, Bob and I shook hands. And the moment we shook hands, there was this instantaneous connection, like mentor, protege, father, son, whatever it was. We just kind of connected. We met. We had a great conversation. I watched him anchor the news. And as I'm watching this professional broadcaster anchor the newscast with his co-anchor, Gail, I'm thinking to myself, I'm sitting right on set for never having seen live television in person before. Yeah. I'm watching all this go down, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. And that was in April. So from that point on, well, let me finish that day. Bob got done with his newscasts. Everything was fine. He goes, all right, you're going that way to your car. I'm going this way back to the newsroom. Here's your first homework assignment and my home phone number. Call me in 2 days. I said, okay. So my first homework assignment, by the way, was taking AP copy, rewriting it conversationally, and then delivering it into a tape recorder, because part of what we do is the show business side of what we do. And, you know, you need to be good on television to be on television. So he wanted to hear my delivery. So from that point on, after having passed that little test of his, we began to work. He showed me everything from the anchoring and reporting to the videography and the editing to the writing, you name it. Between Bob and his wife Bonnie, they basically gave me what I now call the Hite, because their last name is Hite, the Hite crash course in broadcast news. And by the end of the summer, I made it a goal to have my very first demo tape done, which you all will need to get a job in this business, at least if you want to be on camera. And I got it done by the last day of August, so I'm sending it out. Throughout September, I'm getting bites. By the beginning of October, I was on the phone with a guy by the name of Benji Sneed, who is the news director at KCBD in Lubbock, Texas. And Benji and I talked every couple days, and then they finally decided to bring me out for an interview. So they flew me from Tampa to Lubbock mid-October. Benji liked me. I liked him. I liked the station. Let's face it, I didn't have any experience in this other than the Hite crash course, right? I didn't go to school for this. Benji went out on a limb and he hired me. And I flew back to Tampa, threw everything I could fit in my car, and drove from Tampa to Lubbock, Texas. And my very first day on the air was November 1st, 2006, which was my 27th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's how I got into TV.
That's
kind of
amazing.
an interesting story.
That is a total, like, zero to hero story from no experience to snagging up a job. Wow.
Well, I don't know about hero. Thank you for that.
Hero.
That might
Believe
be,
me,
that's
hero.
a little bit of a stretch, but it's
And so, I know you've worked at a couple of stations. You said you were at the one in Texas and the one in Tampa, and now you're at New England Cable News.
Sure.
And so, what would you say is an average day for you?
Well, the nice thing about this business, and for you and anyone else who's watching, there is no day that is like the day that came before or like the day that's going to come after. Every day is unique to itself. There's nothing the same about anything other than the fact that you're telling a story. But that's it, because every story is different. Every interview is different. Every topic is different. Tomorrow, I'm going to be live in Hopkinton at the start of the Boston Marathon. I'll be live when the gun goes off. Everything from that, which is very fun to cover. Right?
Of course.
Everything from that to, last week I covered a fire where a 15-year-old girl died, and everything in between. So what's a normal day like? I can't really answer that question because there is no normal day.
Of course.
Every day is unique, and that's one of the great things about this business, especially as a reporter, is that if you don't like sitting at a desk and you don't like sitting in a cubicle and you don't like being, that mundane every day in and out, 9 to 5, this is not 9 to 5. This is unique, it's new, it's interesting, it's different, and it keeps you going. So I've been in the business now, I'm in the middle of my 7th year in the business, and I haven't had one day that's been the same, which is fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really great.
Well, let me put it this way. My mentor, Bob always said that television news afforded him the opportunity to do everything he ever dreamed of doing with the exception of spaceflight.
Great quote.
Yeah.
Great quote. And so you mentioned a little bit about reporting different stories, and I kind of just briefly want to talk to you about some of the more difficult stories. And I know that when most people read or hear about those stories, they get a lot of emotion. Sure. And being a reporter, you're one of the first ones on the scene, you're the first ones to hear about it. So when you're on camera, how do you deal with those emotions?
Well, some stories are difficult. They are. When you're going onto the scene of somebody, let's just a hypothetical. Let's say somebody has just died in some horrible factory accident, right? And you're the one who has to go and knock on the widow's door. That can be challenging.
Of course.
And we're all human beings, so you kind of just have to maybe take a moment, think about it, go through it all in your own mind, and then move on from it, and just stick to the facts of the story, because it's not supposed to be easy to cover that. We're all human beings.
Of course.
But you're the one who has to go out there. You're the one who the people, the viewers, are depending on to tell them what happened. Mm-hmm. They'll feel the way they're going to feel. So you don't want to. You want to be as neutral as possible.
Yes.
Now, you can put a little bit of an emotion into it if you want, and if you think it's necessary, and if you think it's warranted. Like tomorrow, I'm going to be excited. I'm covering the Boston Marathon. It's fun. It's interesting. It's 117 years old. It's an amazing tradition that I am privileged to be part of. So you're going to hear the excitement in my voice.
Yeah.
There's nothing that isn't exciting about it. There's nothing that isn't inspirational about it. These people coming to do this. But then you probably will also hear a little bit of the emotion, like that story about the 15-year-old girl dying. For a while there, covering it, I don't remember the exact day, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever it was. It was in Gloucester. For a while there, she was alive and she had survived. We didn't know until the next day that she had died. Oh. So you can, there's a little bit of hope in your voice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not wrong to not have a little of the appropriate emotion in your voice when you're covering a story. But you also don't want to be there sobbing your eyes out if someone dies. You need to have some composure there. Yeah. So you need to be a human being, but you also need to temper that human side a little bit and just stick to the story. that make sense?
Yeah,
It's a long-winded answer for a very simple question, but you know, everybody deals with it differently. Some reporters are much more emotional than others. Some are just straight-laced and stick to the facts, and this is what happened, wham, bam, bam, you know, who, where, when, why, how, and back to you. I'm not that way. I put a little emotion into it. That's appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course. Thank you very much for that. I know some of those stories must be difficult, and you obviously seem to deal with them very well. And so, more on stories that you cover, is there any one that you remember more than others, either being very emotional or difficult for you to report, or just really, really fun?
That's the thing. Like I said earlier, you go through your whole career, and I haven't had one day that's been the same as any other day. Oh my gosh, what... I have to say, I enjoy covering days like tomorrow.
Of course.
Days that bring smiles to people's faces. Days that people, it's not the normal death, destruction, and mayhem that people are used to, and they want to change the channel when it comes on the news, right?
Yeah.
It's not North Korea, you know, with that little guy's finger on the button ready to nuke everybody, which he's probably not, but whatever, that's a different topic. You know, days like tomorrow, fun things like tomorrow really kind of give people a little bit of hope and kind of get them out of the normal, mundane, horrible news that's going on. So if I had the choice to cover feature-y type stories or events like tomorrow or opening day at Fenway or whatever it might be, I'd rather cover that all day long. Now, there are some reporters who thrive in like courts and crimes and that death, destruction, and mayhem. I tend to thrive in the feature-y type stuff, but also the breaking news. Like if there's something that's breaking right at that moment, that's something that appeals to me. So pinpointing an actual story, there's just so many.
I'm sure, I'm sure.
I wish, it's difficult to do that, and you'll understand that as your career gets started and it gets, you're not going to remember from day to day, much less week to week, the different stories you cover because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
So I wish I could answer that better, but I guess every report you will learn what your niche is, and you'll learn what you like, and you'll learn what you're good at.
Yeah.
And everybody does, and that's you know then you can move your career in that path.
Of course, of course. Justin, thank you for coming down. That's going to be our show, folks. For me and for Justin and for Hannah and Larson and everyone in the booth. Thank you for watching Wicked Teen YBA. Good night.